well, ready to get started? Okay. Good afternoon, or midday to Albuquerque. It's a windy one, and we are going to be talking about a general COVID update for the city. We tend to do this every couple of weeks, and so we have some specific items we're going to dive into with, I think, an item of interest for everyone, both adults and kids, which is rec sports. And for those of us, I know I was out at a couple of our parks throwing the football with my mask on this weekend, and our parks are getting busy. That's a good thing. It's spring. But also, hold on 1 second for me. Let's just take a quick time out here because a fire truck just pulled up. Okay, the fire truck is pulling away, so I think everything's okay. So, all right, so back to our sort of run of shows. So we're going to talk about rec sports. And again, we're committed to doing all that we can in a COVID-safe way. So the good news is we're certainly opening up rec sports, but it is going to be different than it has been in years past. So we're here today at our Jerry Klein Tennis Center. And we're going to be joined also by our Deputy Director of Parks and Rec, Dave Flores. He's going to go into some more detail around some of this. But just as a reminder for folks, this is our city's kind of premier tennis complex. It's awesome. And it's sort of the headquarters for both tennis lessons and tennis tournaments for central New Mexico. And so this is one of the facilities we're going to be able to utilize a lot more going forward. Now, our fight against COVID and our push to go to green really comes down to efforts to continuing, of course, to prevent the spread. So also that means getting tested, and it means taking a shot when it becomes available. That's how we get to green. And green is really important because of a number of things, but it does allow for a lot more recreational flexibility in use of facilities, even community centers and things of that nature. So we really want to get to green, and we're going to talk about how we've kind of plateaued right now, and we are stuck in yellow right now. So we got to talk about how we're going to be able to push beyond that, but also do things like get good exercise and reconnect with folks in an outside COVID-safe way, even while we're still in yellow. So folks might remember our official numbers in terms of the gating criteria. Where we're falling short, we're doing fine on our positivity rate, and our forecast show that that's going to continue to be okay, so that's a good thing, at least in the near future. We do know that unofficially, if you look at our the number of cases per 100,000, we need to get it below 8, and we got into kind of mid-9s, like 9.4 neighborhood, and we think we're going to be slightly up, back up to 10. Again, that's not a very big increase at all, but the point is we're not going in the right direction. We're really just staying flat, and so that's why it's so important to continue to follow the public health order with respect to distancing and masks and all of this, get tested and get the shot. The vaccine is really our ticket to turquoise. And so we really want to encourage everyone to do that, especially now that the state has made it much more flexible. So it's much, much easier to get a vaccine. We want to encourage everyone to do that, check with the state on how that can be done. We also want to reiterate today, it was announced that some of the vaccines, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, is going to be on hold for a little bit while the CDC looks into very rare but some serious complications around the U.S. So over the course of the next few weeks, that'll be put on hold. But there are plenty of Moderna and others in the system that we're able to actually roll out. So we don't anticipate it having a big impact on folks, other than, of course, you got to go twice, right, for the other ones. Now, the total vaccination count in the Albuquerque metro, we're at about 47% have their first shot, and that's out of folks who are over 16, and that's roughly 262,000 people. And about 28.4% are fully vaccinated. And so that is a 12 and 11 point increase in 1 week. So last week was awesome. Credit to all the healthcare providers, to the Department of Health, and of course, through our Emergency Operations Center, we're involved in half a dozen or so at any given time. Again, we really operate those facilities. We don't decide typically who gets a shot, but we do operate many for everyone from Walgreens to Walmart to Loveless. And so we continue to do that. And these are often referred to as pods, point of distribution. And so to date, the City Emergency Operations Center has provided support for 47 points of distribution. And we've been a part of 20,000 doses dispersed with utilization of city resources. Now we have 9 more scheduled this month, and as I mentioned, our J&J events are being converted to Moderna. So those events are still going to happen, but you'll just have to come back a month later to get that second shot. Now, as we mentioned, Bernalillo County is still in yellow, and our forecast is about as accurate as a weather forecast, so it's mixed. And I do believe, hopefully, that early May we're going to be able to go to green, and that's based on everyone getting vaccinated. Most of all, it's also based on continuing to follow the public health order. But I will tell you, we'll see. We're stuck in yellow right now, and so we're several weeks later than we thought we would be when we sort of looked at the forecast back in the beginning of that would have been the beginning of March. So hopefully we're getting there, but we've got to get vaccinated, got to follow the public health order, and that's how we move forward. Now, other cities in the country are in a much rougher spot, so we do want to emphasize that we still continue to lead the Southwest when it comes to all the key metrics that we track. So we are either 1 or 2 in the fewest positive cases, and we'll send this all out for distribution, by the way, if you want to see the numbers. But we're still in that second place spot when it comes to the number of overall cases and the positivity rate, the lowest positivity rate. So it's a very good thing. And we're tied for first, more or less, in the percentage of vaccinated folks. And that's in comparison to cities like Austin, Denver, Phoenix, Tucson, LA, Salt Lake, and Oklahoma City. And El Paso, those who we've been benchmarking against. And so we continue to demonstrate leadership during the pandemic. And we are showing that in the West, we are a healthier place to live. And that has continued now with vaccination progress. Now, interestingly, out of all those cities, we're the only city that's 1 or 2 in all of those categories. So other cities are doing a little bit better on positivity, but not on vaccination and things like that. So we'll share more on that at our next COVID update in terms of a comparison across these other cities, and we'll send out that information digitally to folks. Okay, now we also want to note, again, there are cities in New Mexico that have fallen actually from turquoise all the way back to yellow, right? We've heard about this. And so we continue to remind folks that, in some ways, I'm glad we're in yellow and not backsliding a lot, but we want to get to green. But it is true that a lot of other cities are in much worse shape, and also around the country there have been major increases. Folks open up, we're seeing major increases. We have not seen that here. Again, our issue is we're flat. It's not that we're seeing increases. Okay, now I think with that, let me touch a little bit on our rec sports coming back, and we'll hand it over to our deputy director here. Now, folks, it's sort of obvious, but remember, we didn't have rec sports for almost a year. So for folks who are interested, either for their kids, this is like Little League, I-9, all of these different things, AYSO, Duke City, all of the great things that, it's part of growing up here in Albuquerque that even I used to participate in. I never made a Duke City team, so I was only AYSO, but anyway, this is a little soccer joke for folks. So for us, we are able also to do baseball and softball. And so especially too, remember, we run a lot of adult softball leagues that people love, and some adult baseball leagues, and of course tennis, which is also youth and adult, along with some other sports. So we are really announcing today that we're going to start reopening and bringing sports leagues back in pretty much all cases, but in a COVID-safe way. And especially with respect to softball. Registration is going to start April 19th, and that's going to start right here at Jerry Klein Center. And we're going to also have some different methods for you to do that we're going to go over shortly. But rec sports might not seem like a huge deal, but I will tell you, for anyone who's involved in them, they're part of our mental health. By far and away, for a lot of folks, it is their sort of one hobby, their one outlet beyond work and family. Also, it's physical exercise, which we know is even more important in times of stress. And for our youth, we've said from day one that there is a strong connection between our summer programs and our youth programs and keeping kids out of trouble. The reality is, many of us will tell you how some form of youth sports or extracurricular activities either kept us in school or kept us out of trouble. And that is true today now more than ever. And so we want to see as many kids as possible in rec sports. We want to see as many kids as possible in summer programs, no matter what they are. And we have a range now of youth sports and adult softball leagues that are back. So that includes soccer, tennis, pickleball courts, of course, continue to be open. And in the fall, adult flag football and basketball, we plan on having their seasons. So unless something significantly different happens in the fall, those are going to all start right after the summer. Now, we'll obviously evaluate that as we get a little bit closer, but we do believe this is part of a general catalyst for recovery for our city. We also know that in yellow, we have a challenge around tournaments. We understand that. But as we continue to work with the state and as we continue to progress with color coding, we very much want to bring sports tourism back. That's not really possible today, but we hope it will be in the near future, because we know that our softball and tennis and baseball tournaments are all actually regional moneymakers for restaurants and hotels all throughout the city. It's one of the few things that lifts up almost every aspect of the city of Albuquerque. Is sports tourism. That also includes our indoor track, of course, at the convention center. So those are not doable right now, but again, we hope they will be in the next few months. So with more details on this, let's hand it over to our Deputy Director of Parks and Rec, David Flores. Come on up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for being here, and thanks especially to the adult softball players who've been patiently waiting for this announcement. We're, like the mayor said, we're going to be here doing registration. I'll get to that date. And as soon as we got word from the state that we could resume, our recreation division got to work really quickly on a safe reopening plan, and we think we really hit it out of the park. We're not just supporting adult leagues. A lot of our fields and our facilities play host to youth sports as well. In addition to leagues returning to their fields, we're opening up neighborhood parks for practices, balloon fiesta for practices, and other athletic complexes that for youth sports, such as our BMX facility. All within the public health order and COVID safe practices. Things that the mayor mentioned we're going to be looking a little different is that we're going to have fewer spaces available for play. It's going to be limited due to the COVID safe practices and construction of los saltos and a limited number of umpires. Those are all contributing to the limited number of divisions that we're going to be playing each night, limited number of scheduled slots each night. Team captains, they're going to be required to enforce mask wearing. Also, social distancing in the dugouts. Teams will be responsible for sanitizing high-touch areas like bleachers and dugouts, and all players must bring their own water bottle. Spectator numbers will be limited to the state's red, yellow, green, turquoise guidelines. Masks and social distancing will be required. Also, tailgating, we will be strongly discouraging that. There'll be a reduction in the number of games, as I mentioned, scheduled per facility per day. The reason why is we're going to stretch out the distance between the time between the games. That's going to minimize the overlap, about 30 to 45 minutes for transition time. During that time, we'll be allowing for cleaning and limiting that team-to-team personal interaction. Any positive COVID-19 test by any players or coaches must be self-reported to the Mexico Department of Health and respective leagues immediately. We'll also need help from leagues to get fields ready. We're doing that now, taking care of the major elements of each field, but we will be asking for some help. And tournament and league organizers will be expected to provide volunteer help and possibly equipment to assist with softball field prep. In the meantime, we'll be actively looking for contractors and seasonal employees to assist in providing weekend field preparation services. So if you know anyone interested in part-time evening and weekend employment, please contact this office at 505-224-6683. It's going to take all of us to make this effort a home run. Registration will be open Monday the 19th at 9 a.m. in person here at this complex, and will be open until Thursday, May 13th at 5 p.m. or unless the divisions are full. So the season opener will be June 6th, and that's our official opening day. So remember, space is limited this season, so it's get in and get early and get registered. And in terms of all that's left to say is play ball.
All right. There's your water, your own personal water.
All right, folks, we've got some time for Q&A now. Does anybody here with us in the room have a question for the mayor or Deputy Director Flores?
Showstopper.
If not, we'll go.
Softball and Little League.
So this covers obviously the Los Altos softball. Is this the citywide softball leagues, or is this like a certain league that you have talking about?
This is all citywide, so you've got obviously the big ones, Los Altos, which is under construction, but it does include in some ways the one at Bareilles and 8th and Bullhead, so all the city softball fields. Yeah. I think those are the big three. All right. Well, have a good day, everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks.
I'm getting the shot to protect my family and the community I serve. We all want to get back to normal here in Bernalillo County.
Like family gatherings and working out at the gym.
Going on vacation.
Going to